Tacoma, welcome back to your first grade TV classroom. Today is Thursday, November 19th, and I'm Mrs. Oswin. As always, let's take a moment and check in with your zone. Think, what emotion are you feeling? Think about your iMessage. You'll remember an iMessage sounds like I feel because and then pay really close attention to how strongly you're feeling your emotion. Take some think time. I'm going to practice sharing my iMessage with Rashid. Rashid, I was feeling really frustrated and irritated this morning because I could not find my car keys. And then when I did find my car keys, I was worried because I got a warning light that came on my car, and I was worried that something was going to go wrong with my car. But everything's fine. I got to the TV classroom. We're good. Now you take a moment to share your iMessage with your learning buddy, someone in the room with you, or with me on the screen. You'll remember that it's important to think about how strongly you're feeling an emotion, because if you get to a 4 or a 5 on the feelings thermometer and you feel like you're out of control and you might do or say something that you regret or could hurt yourself or someone else, you know that you need to stop and think. And when you do that, you use the stop and stay cool steps. And let's practice going through these together. First, we say, I feel like I am losing control. Next, you stop. You give yourself a chili hug. Let's practice that. You breathe in and breathe out for 5. Let's practice doing that together. Then hopefully you're cool and ready for school and ready to share your iMessage with someone. We've also been practicing using the peace path to help us find non-violent solutions to conflict. You'll remember a conflict is a problem that we have with someone else. And when we recognize that we're having a conflict with someone else, the first thing we do is we tell the problem. This is where we share our iMessage with the person, and then we listen as they share their iMessage. And it's also important that we say back the iMessage. So you felt because This makes sure that both people know and understand what the other person is feeling and why. Next, we brainstorm possible win-win solutions. You'll remember win-win solutions are solutions in which both people get some of what they want and both people feel good about the outcome. Step 3 is the two people come together and have a discussion about which win-win solution they're going to try to solve the problem. Some possible win-win solutions are share, take turns, apologize, fix the problem, or get help if none of those are going to work. Now, we're here together today and we're starting a new unit, and I'm really excited about it. So the materials I need you to gather to be ready for today's lesson are your learning buddy and your new ELA packet and a pencil. So you gather those materials and then come back to me ready to learn. Now, if you don't have your new ELA packet, please contact your teacher and get that. But you can always do your writing and thinking in your learning notebook. So here we go. You are a strong listener when you keep your eyes on the speaker, when you listen to the speaker, and when you think about the words and the learning intention that we're doing. When it's time to share, I do want you to share your ideas, talk about the book, talk about what the book is making you think. And if there's someone in the room that is also sharing, you're going to practice taking turns and being a strong listener. Today, I want to teach you how readers pay attention to the features of different genres. Ooh, okay, genre. That is a big word that means different kinds of books. We read different books for different purposes. Today, we're going to read what's called a realistic fiction book. Say realistic fiction. Fiction is a book that comes from our author's imagination. It's not real. But when we read realistic fiction, the book is written in such a way that it can feel really real to us. We feel the same things the characters are feeling. We can feel like we're in the setting that the character is in. And today we're going to read a realistic fiction book called Big Al. And before we even open the book, we're going to take a moment to look at the front cover and think about what this book might be about and what details the illustrator has included to give us a clue. So, this book is called Big Al. The author is Andrew Clements. So we know that this story came from Andrew Clements' imagination because it's fiction. Now, it's realistic fiction. So let's see if our illustrator, Yoshi, gave us any clues about our characters or what kind of problem the characters are going to have. So take some think time and look at the front cover and see what you notice. Now I'm noticing there's one really big fish. That must be Big Al. And Big Al has eyes that just look really gentle and really kind. And the other two fish are kind of looking at Big Al. They look kind of unsure or uncertain about Big Al. So I'm wondering if that's going to be part of our problem, is the relationship between Big Al and the other fish. That seems really realistic to me. I wonder if there's going to be a conflict where our characters might need to use the peace path to help them. Let's read and find out. And while we're doing this, we're going to do some stopping and jotting, some stopping and writing on a document in your ELA packet. We're also going to talk about the features of realistic fiction, because that's what we're learning today, is how different genres have different features. And we already talked about how stories of realistic fiction come from the writer's imagination. So Big Al came from Andrew Clements' imagination. We're also going to learn how they include descriptive language and detailed illustrations. So they're going to use words that really give us a clear picture of what is happening, what the characters are feeling, and the problems that they're going to encounter. And the illustrations are going to have really detailed pictures. Like we talked about how Yoshi included the facial features of the fish, where fish don't really have facial features, but Yoshi made them look kind of like human faces. And we also are going to learn that characters experience real-life problems and try to find ways to solve these problems, just like you and I. So let's read Big Al, think about what we know about these characters, the problem that they're having, and pay attention to the features of realistic fiction. In the wide blue sea, there was a very friendly fish named Big Al. You could not find a nicer fish. Now here, our author is giving us two different ways in two sentences to tell us how nice Big Al was. He says, there was a very friendly fish, and he says, you could not find a nicer fish. So I think it was really important to our author, Andrew Clements, for us to know that Big Al was a really nice fish. So in your ELA packet, you will find Appendix 2. It looks just like this, only there's no color. It's black and white. And it's on page, let's see, it looks like this, 075. Find this document and your pencil, and we're going to write and keep track of what we know about Big Al. Now, let's remind ourselves, what was it really seemed really important that Andrew Clements wanted us to know about Big Al? Turn and tell your learning buddy. Rashid, I think it was really important, or I think our author thought it was really important that we know that Big Al is a really nice fish. Now, by the number 1 on our Appendix 2, Tracking Big Al, you're going to write what it is that you told your learning buddy about what we know about Big Al so far. Now, as we continue reading this realistic fiction text, think about what the author and illustrator do. Think about the language, think about the pictures that they've drawn, and think about what are the problems that the characters are having, and can you relate to that? Have you had similar problems? But Big Al was also very, very scary. Other fish seemed to have at least one friend. Some had many, but Big Al had none. He did not really blame the other fish. How could he expect little fish to trust a great big fish with eyes and skin and teeth like this? So Big Al was lonely and cried big salty tears into the big salty sea. Now, think about, what do we now know about Big Al? We know he's friendly. What's he feeling? Let's reread that last sentence because our author gives us some really descriptive language. So Big Al was lonely and cried big salty tears into the big salty sea. Big Al's lonely. Think about a time when you felt lonely. Now that we know that Big Al is feeling lonely, let's add that to our chart, Tracking Big Al. Now, our author and illustrator are giving us words and detailed pictures so that you and I as a reader feel like Big Al. I feel lonely. I feel like I want to cry tears for Big Al. This is a feature of realistic fiction. It feels real. But Big Al really wanted friends, so he worked at it. First, he tried wrapping himself up with seaweed. He thought it was a great disguise, but no one else did. Who wants to stop and talk to a floating plant that has big, sharp teeth? Then he thought that if he puffed himself up round, the other fish would laugh and see how clever and silly he could be. All they saw was how big he could be, and they steered clear. Very early one morning, Big Al went down to the bottom and flopped and wiggled himself into the sand until he was almost covered up. He looked much smaller. When the other fish came near, Big Al talked and joked with them and had a delightful time. But then one scratchy little grain of sand got stuck in his gills, and he sneezed. When the clouds of sand cleared away, all the other fish were gone. Now you'll notice that our illustrator gave us details. Look at the fish's faces. When Big Al is covered in sand, they're smiling. But then he sneezed and the sand cleared away, and the author tells us all the other fish were gone. So wow, Big Al has tried 3 different things to get the other fish to like him. He tried covering himself up in seaweed. He tried puffing himself up to make him laugh. And he tried burying himself to make him look smaller. He's trying really hard. What does that tell you about Big Al? What's that word that means that someone works really hard and they don't give up? Rashid? What are you thinking? Oh, that is a good word. Rashid said Big Al is determined. Determined means you don't give up, you keep trying. So let's go back to our Tracking Big Al document and add that Big Al is determined. He really wants to make some friends. Now, we are keeping track of Big Al. We're thinking about realistic fiction, that this book is from our author's imagination, but it feels really real to us because we feel the same emotions that Big Al is feeling, and we can see the illustrations and how the illustrations are really helping us understand what's happening in the story and make us feel connected to these characters. Big Al even changed his color one day so he could look like he belonged to a school of tiny fish passing by. He bubbled along with them for a while, laughing and feeling like he was just one of the crowd. But he was so big and clumsy that when all the tiny fish darted to the left and then quickly back to the right, Big Al just plowed straight ahead. He went bumping and thumping right into the little fish. Before he could even say, "Excuse me," they were gone, and he was all alone again, sadder than ever. Just when Big Al was starting to be sure that he would never have a single friend, something happened. He was floating along sadly, watching some of the smaller fish, and was wishing they would come closer. As he watched, a net dropped down silently from above, and in an instant, they were caught. Take a moment and really study the illustrations that Yoshi has drawn for us. Can you tell how our characters are feeling? Big Al's face looks kind of worried. And the little fish in the net look kind of scared. I wonder how they're going to solve this problem. Take some think time and make a prediction about how you think our characters are going to solve this problem. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you think might happen next. Rashid, I think Big Al is going to figure out how to get the little fish out of the net, and he's going to be the big hero. Let's keep reading and find out. Big Al forgot all about being lonely, and he forgot all about being sad. His eyes bulged out bigger and rounder than ever, and with a mighty flip of his tail, he opened his mouth and charged straight at the net. The net was strong, but Big Al was stronger. He ripped right through it, and all the little fish rushed out through the hole. Wow, Big Al was brave. He forgot about how he was feeling, and he did what he needed to do to help the other fish. So, take some think time about what we should add to our Tracking Big Al chart. And then share with your learning buddy what you're thinking. Rashid, I'm thinking that we should add that Big Al is brave because he forgot about how he was feeling and he rushed at the net and he tore it open with his teeth to get the other fish free. You might have thought something different, and that's okay. Go ahead and add whatever it is that you were thinking about Big Al onto your chart. But when Big Al tried to turn around and go out of the hole, he got all tangled up in the net. He was stuck. The net went higher and higher toward the bright surface of the sea, and the little fish watched as Big Al as he disappeared above them. When the little fish were able to speak again, all they talked about was the huge, wonderful fish that had saved them. How great to be free, but what a shame that the big fellow had been captured. Now, let's check in. We talked about how realistic fiction makes us really feel what the characters are feeling. How do you think Big Al is feeling right now? How would you feel? He's probably pretty scared. And the little fish, if we look at Yoshi's illustration, they seem to be really concerned. Their faces are like, that's a feature of realistic fiction, is that as we read, we really feel what the characters are feeling. Just then, there was a tremendous crashing splash above them, and the small fish dashed away. Was it the net again? Not at all. It was Big Al. Those fishermen took one look at him and threw him right back into the ocean. And now there is one huge, puffy, scary, fierce-looking fish in the sea who has more friends than anyone else. Big Al. Now, I noticed that the last sentence on this page has just 2 words. Big Al. Our author really wanted to hit it home that Big Al is important and that he was a nice fish, just like Andrew Clements told us at the very beginning of the story. Now, we stopped and wrote what we were thinking about Big Al. And when readers think about the features of the realistic fiction genre, we were thinking about how our characters were feeling. We used the pictures to help us figure out the details. We listened to the really descriptive language that our author gave us. And we thought about how we felt the same as the characters. It felt really real. Today we learned how readers, you and I, pay attention to the features of different genres. And we talked specifically about realistic fiction. Fiction is a book that comes from our author's imagination, but the author and the illustrator worked really hard to make it seem really real to us. So that's why it's called realistic fiction. Now, your writing that I want you to work on independently is on the back of your Big Al chart, and it's Appendix 3, Expressing My Opinion. And in the story Big Al, the smaller fish were not nice to Big Al at the beginning of the story. Did you have a reaction when that was happening? How did this make you feel? In this rectangle, I want you to write a few sentences that express your opinion, what you think or feel, about how the smaller fish treated Al. And then add what you would want to say to them to convince them to change their actions. So the smaller fish were scared of Big Al, and they really weren't very nice to him. So think about how that made you feel. That's your opinion, and you're going to write about it. And add what you would want to say to them to convince them to change their actions. That's your independent work today. You're also going to continue reading, building your independent reading stamina, thinking about the features of your text genre. Is your book realistic fiction, just like Big Al? Could you really feel like you were in the ocean? Could you really feel the emotions that your characters were feeling? If so, that's a hint that it's realistic fiction. You're also going to practice reading your word wall. You could read your word wall loud like a monster, scary like a witch, squeaky like a mouse, whisper like a secret. Or you could come up with your own way to read it. And if it's okay with you and okay with your adult, you can ask them to record you reading your word wall, and you can send it to us here at the TV classroom. You could also write down how you read your word wall and mail it to us. And Mrs. Wally and I are working on sending letters to some of our readers and writers who are out there. And if you get one from us, there's an envelope in it that's already addressed and already has a stamp on it, and you can send that back to us. And we would love to share your thinking here on the TV Classroom. You're also going to continue tracking your reading goals, reading for longer and longer periods of time, paying attention to when you're reading, are you focused for the whole time? And then you can send this chart into your teacher at the end of the week tomorrow. Now, first graders, this is your 5-minute break. This is your chance to take care of your needs, but also gather your materials that you will need for your math lesson. You'll need your whiteboard and marker. You already have your learning buddy, but you can gather your counters as well. Thank you so much for reading and thinking and feeling with me today. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Hi, first graders. We're going to do some subitizing today. So today it's a little bit different though, because what we're going to do is we're going to look and then we're going to go to this page and I'm going to make my whiteboard big and we're going to talk about what we saw and then we'll go back and check it. So how many dots do you see? What do you see? Okay, go ahead and tell me, what do you see? What do you see? Someone said, I saw 4 groups. Awesome. They saw 4 groups. What else did you see? Oh, someone said, I saw each group has 10. How did you know that each group has 10? Oh, it's a tens frame. And we know when a tens frame is filled in, it is 10. Okay. Someone said, I saw 40 dots. How did you find 40 dots? They counted by tens. They said 10, 20, 30, 40. Let's go back and check their thinking. You ready? Whoops, wrong way. Hang on. My computer's being a little bit slow today. Okay. 10, 20, 30, 40. Just like we did. 40 dots. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Are you ready? I'm going to reset our thinking. Okay. How many dots do you see? Okay. What did you see? What did you see? Someone said, I saw tens frames. Okay. You want to have something else that they saw? You saw 8 tens frames. You counted how many tens frames you saw? Oh, all the tens frames were filled in. Someone says, I saw 80 dots. How did you find 80 dots? You count by tens 8 times. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Let's go check. Oh, look, there's 4 here and 4 here. Then we have 8 tens frames. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Do we have to count all the dots? Nope, we did not. Okay, let's do the next one. Are you ready? Oh my goodness, so many. How many tens frames do you see? How many dots do you see? Okay. What did you see? 10 tens frames? Oh my goodness. How many dots did you see? 100? How did you know it was 100? You counted by tens. Okay, let's do it. You ready? I'm going to switch back to me. All right. Make it a little bit smaller. Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I went the wrong way. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, you have to use what we know about this one to solve this one. This was 100, wasn't it? Let me get my highlighter. On the last page, this right here, this was 100. How many are there now? If this part's 100, we have another 10. How many do we have now? I hear some students saying 101. I hear other students saying 110. Which one is it? Is it 101? 110? Well, let's count on from 100 by ones and see how many. If this is 100, then we have 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110. We have 110. 101 would just be one dot, and we have a whole nother group of 10. Wow. Oh my goodness, are you ready? Gulp. How many tens frames do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, we know that this is 100, right? 10 tens frames is 100. So how many do you see? Tens frames is 100. Here, let me make this so you can see it bigger. If 10 tens frame is 100, we decided 10 more was what? 110. What's another tens frame going to be? 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119. Yes, 120. Woo! 12 tens frames is 120. All right. Today, friends, we are learning to tell if an equation is true or false. And we're going to be building true equations. Now, sometimes I might make a false equation, and that means it's not true. So let's take a look. It says use counters. Complete the 4 equations below. So let's switch here. Now, I don't have counters, but I do have markers and a whole bunch of markers. So that's what I'm going to use, because you can use anything you have at home to count with. So it says blank plus blank equals 5. So what's my whole? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have to tell the 2 parts that make 5 to make it true. Oh, what's that equation? Yeah, 3 plus 2 equals 5. There we go. You might have had a different way. Now, I have to make an equation where blank minus blanks can equal 5. I'm going to have 5 left over. So, what should I do? Maybe I could do this. How many do I have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7. And how am I going to make that 5? 7 minus 2. 7 minus 2 equals 5. That's a true equation, isn't it? I have 7 and I take away 2. I have 5 left. Yep, okay. 5 equals blank plus blank. Hey, let's make it different this time. What should we do? 5 is the same as, 1 plus 4. 5 is the same as 1 plus 4. We read expressions and equations the same way we read a sentence. We start on the left and we go to the right. Okay, 5 equals blank minus blank. Okay. 5 equals blank minus blank. Well, 5 is going to be what I have left over. So what should we do for our equation? What do you think? 5 equals, what if I have 3 here? 5 equals, how many is here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 equals 8. Do you have 8? Minus what? How do we make it 5? Oh, 8 minus 3. 5 equals 8 minus 3. Okay, great. I think our brains are warmed up. You ready to do some math? We've been doing math, but you ready to do our problems? Here we go. It says, let me get my face so you can see me. There we go. Here I am. It says, what does equal mean? I want you to think about when we say this. What does it mean? What do I always say? Blank is the same as, look what they said, blank is the equal sign. Equal means is the same as. 4 is the same as 4. 1 plus 3 is the same as 4. Right? That's what we've been working on. So I'm going to draw a picture for you, and I want you to write the true equation. Are you ready? Okay. Here I go. I'm going to start here. Don't do it yet. Hang on, different color. Purple. Okay. What is the true equation? I'm going to fix that part right there for us. What is the true equation for this problem? What is the true equation? I'm going to show you my whiteboard. What is the true equation that shows this problem if we're reading from left to right? Go ahead and write it down. Okay, I'm seeing a few things. I'm seeing this. 4 is the same as 2 plus 6. I'm also seeing 6 is the same as 4 reds and 2 purples. Which of these is the true equation? Yeah, does this one make sense? Is 2 plus 6 4? No, what is 2 plus 6? It's 8. Does 4 equal 8? No. 4 does not equal 8. So our equation is 6 is the same as 4 plus 2. Now I'm going to use this same picture, and we're going to write a subtraction equation. And I'm going to use crossing out to show you. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to do my purples. 5, 6. And now I'm going to cross out. Ooh. What's the true equation for the second picture? Blank equals blank minus blank. What do I have left in my picture? Yeah, there's 2 left. 2 is the same as, what was my whole? What did I start with? 6. How many did I take away? minus 4. 2, that's what I have left, is the same as 6 minus 4. Or I could say 6 minus 4 is the same as 2. Very good. How can you tell if an equation is true or false? Yeah, you got to solve both sides and see if they're the same. So let's take a look. Okay. It says circle 2 groups you see and write equations the counters show. Circle whether each equation is true or false. So we see this and we see this. You ready? So what do we see? Blank equals blank plus blank. Blank is the same as blank plus blank. Well, what are the parts we're putting together? Blank is the same as blank plus blank. So let's do the blank plus blank part. What are our 2 parts we see? 4 plus 4. How many altogether? Yeah, 8. 8 is the same as 4 plus 4. Is that true? Does 4 plus 4 make 8? Yep, it's true. Okay, let's do the next one. Okay. Now, what are you going to put here? What's happening here? I see this group, and I see this group right here. Do you see those 2 groups? Yeah. So what's the equation for this? We're subtracting. So what do we do? Oh, I heard someone say we have a whole and we take away a part. So what's our whole? 14 minus 4. And that equals the part that's left. What's left? 10. Okay, so these have to be the same. What is 14 minus 4? 10 equals, 10. Are they the same? It's true. Say true. Okay, I'm going to do this one, and you're going to find out if what I say is true or false. Let's see. I see this group, and I see this group. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's see. It's 8 and 7. That's 15 plus 8 plus 7. Okay. So now it's your job to decide, is this equation true or false and why? Well, we have to solve both sides, right? Is 15 plus 8 the same as 7? Well, what is 15 plus 8? 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Is 23 the same as 7? No. This equation is not true. It is not the same. Untrue equation. It is false. What's the true equation? Yes, write the true equation. 8 plus 7, yep, the 2 parts equals how much altogether? 15. There you go. What is 8 plus 7? 15. Does that equal 15? Are those the same? They're the same. Kiss your brain, first graders. All right, we are running out of time. So I'm going to go through really quick and head to our homework. It's more of the same, deciding if equations are true or false. I'm trying to get back to my picture. There I am. Okay, there I am. Hi, friends. All right. So you're going to practice true or false equations. You're going to decide if it's true or if it's false. Like down here it says circle the true equation. Which one of these is true? One of them is false. You have to circle the one that's true. So solve them both and decide which ones are true. Okay. Same with this. Circle the ones that are true. The number bonds. Circle the ones that are true. The ones that work. Did we model equations? Mm-hmm. Did we write equations? Mm-hmm. Did we identify if it was true or false? We sure did. Nice job, friends. All right. So our affirmation for today is this. Are you ready? Here we go. I am a strong mathematician. You are doing so much incredible math right now. You're using things you've learned from all over the place to understand new math. And that makes you strong. Even when it's hard or you're confused, you're still powering through and giving it your best shot. And that means you are a strong mathematician. So say it with me. I'm going to practice and then you're going to do it. I am a strong mathematician. Your turn. Excellent job, first graders. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.